After so much rural cycling, Stage 6 was very much a contrast, passing through the industrial heritage of East Manchester and the West Pennines. On top of that, the weather had taken a turn for the worse overnight, with persistent heavy rain very much the feature of the morning. We set off from Shrigley Hall with waterproof jackets very much required, and I felt grateful for my mudguards. The first 2 hours were wet, and not a single photo was merited until, finally, as we headed up onto the moors above Milnrow, the clouds broke and the sun tried hard to make an appearance. The long descent to Littleborough was a delight, not least because it was dry, and soon we were dodging the holiday traffic at Hollingworth Lake, where we found Anne and John waiting at our only pit stop on what was a relatively short day. Spirits were rising as the rain receded, and we continued down to the Calder Valley in Yorkshire. At Hebden Bridge the tourist traffic was heavy, but we turned up onto the long climb over Oxenhope Moor and left much of it behind. The climb was a joy, never steep, and with views of the Pennine Moors now in sunshine. This was matched by the descent into Haworth and then Keighley, shortly after which the rain returned for a last hurrah as we covered the last stretch to Skipton, although Martin had kept one last sting in the tail for us with an uncategorised climb to test our resolve. I dined on curry that evening, well earned, as our first week was drawing to a close. For me, Stage 7 was quite possibly the highlight of the entire trip, taking us through the heart of the Yorkshire Dales and the Cumbrian Pennines and some quite splendid countryside. Added to which, the weather proved much better than yesterday, and I had family encounters to look forward to. From Skipton, I rode solo for much of the morning, heading straight into the heart of Wharfdale, past the iconic Kilnsey Crag and into Cattlewell, where my brother Rich was waiting with the most welcome Tunnock's tea cake you could wish for. Shortly after, at Hubberholme, our road followed the delightful River Wharfe to the first of two of Martin's significant climbs today, Fleet Moss. The steep and challenging slopes were matched by some splendid views to Ingleborough before topping out high above Wensleydale. A photo stop was imperative. The ensuing descent to Hawes was glorious in the sunshine, although far too short. Here, our first pit stop of the day was to be found by the Wensleydale Creamery, and we regrouped for the next leg, which took us over Aysgill, high point of the settled Carlisle Railway, and down the lovely Malastang Valley to Kirby Stephen, and into Cumbria. We followed the winding lanes of the Eden Valley to Appleby, and along the flanks of the Pennines, before pit-stopping in a small village where my son Paul joined us. The climb of Hartside was our second significant climb of the day, and was a familiar one for me and Paul. We cruised gently up its slopes, enjoying each other's company and the unfolding views before cresting the summit. Here Paul left us as we continued on the long, fast descent to Alston, where we followed the infant River Tyne down through Slaggyford, before yet another of Martin's now infamous uncategorised climbs tested our legs at the end of what, on paper, was the toughest day of the tour. The final descent took us over the River Tyne and into the Northumbrian town of Haltwhistle, at the end of a truly memorable day.
about a shirtless man. No watch, diamond ring, I ain't missing not a single thing. Cufflinks, stick pin, when I step out I'm gonna do you in. They come running just as fast as they can, 'cause every girl crazy about a shirtless man. Top coat, top hat, I don't wear it 'cause my wallet's fat. Black shades, white glove, looking sharp, looking for love. They come running just as fast as they can, 'cause every girl crazy about a shirtless man. You can't lose a dress like you. That's what I'm gonna find.
Stage 8 took us into Scotland, which seemed like real progress after a week on the road. We gathered in the centre of Haltwhistle, ready for what promised to be a gruelling morning, riding through border country, terrain I know well from my border city wheeler days. Overcast conditions, which never quite broke into proper rain, typified this part of the world. We tracked Hadrian's Wall for a short while, before bearing northwest across bleak countryside on a criss-cross network of roads, before then plunging down a hill, over a river, and into Scotland. There was even a road sign to welcome us. Shortly after that, we came to Anne and John and the Scran wagon, a welcome sight. Then it was on with rolling country lanes until we came to the River Esk and rode into Langham, a typical borders town on the A7. We quickly left the A7 to enjoy the Upper Esk Valley in its entirety, following a quiet, remote road alongside the river to Estill Muir and the bizarre, somewhat incongruous sight of the Samiling Tibetan monastery. Sadly, the cafe was shut. The road continued on higher and ever more remote through the Estill Muir forest before eventually crossing into Scottish Borders County, where we now enjoyed a wonderfully long and gentle descent alongside Tema Water to Ettrick and our second pit stop. There was another climb shortly after at Tushielaw, neither steep nor long, and actually thoroughly enjoyable, before yet another long, gentle and pleasurable descent to Gordon Arms. Here we crossed Yarrow Water and the main road to Selkirk onto our last proper climb of the day, to take us over into the Tweed Valley, past the enigmatic Traquair House, Scotland's oldest inhabited house apparently, and alongside the River Tweed into the market town of Peebles, and a night of opulence at the Peebles Hydro Hotel, together with a welcome pint of heavy. Welcome to Scotland indeed.
Only the calm will win the race. Through the forest, sea of mountainkind, surrender everything. Only those who greatness see in little things, worthy are the simple, they're happy in their ways. Sample when they're out of sight, run into the light, run into the light.
Stage 9 was, in many ways, a transition day, taking us from southern uplands towards the Highlands, with the traverse of Scotland's capital city along the way. After yesterday's drab weather, today dawned sunny and bright, and optimism filled the air. I had a date with my daughter and grandsons in Edinburgh, and I was keen to get away to make our rendezvous. The busy road from Peebles was teeming with rush-hour traffic, but views of the heather-clad Pentland Hills as we approached Edinburgh helped. I met up with Claire and the boys outside a pub near their nursery, and it was all smiles and hugs, and very much made my day. As I set off again, Al and Ali just happened to belong, and we three made our way through the congested roads of Edinburgh before crossing the River Almond by Cramond Old Bridge and picking up the Sustrans cycle route alongside the busy A90 to Queensferry and the Three Bridges over the Forth, a real photo opportunity. Anne and John were parked up here too, so we enjoyed a longer pit stop, with plenty of posturing in front of the camera. Our route took us over the old Forth Bridge, now closed to most traffic, and in the sunshine it was a delight with views in all directions. We were now heading north through a number of towns and villages loosely shadowing the M90 to Cowdenbeath and Kinross, where we picked up a certified cycle-friendly road, it said so on the signs, that was quiet and a joy to ride. Our second pit stop came in the Ochil Hills, a few miles before Perth, which was both busy and decidedly less cycle-friendly. Here we encountered real driver hostility, a rarity on our ride so far. Then we were through, and heading past Scone, how do you pronounce that? And up the Tay Valley before crossing the magnificent river and rolling into the grand estate of Ballity House and our digs for the night down on the banks of the Tay. As the sun set on another enjoyable day, John O'Groat seemed to be within touching distance now.
One, two, three.